Welcome back, friends of G&K. We're here to discuss some other concepts that play to some fundamentals that you can focus on as we stand in wet fields. So those of you that are in our immediate G&K territory of northern Indiana, northwest Ohio, southern Michigan know that your planting progress maybe isn't where you want it to be. According to USDA, as of Monday, we were 25% planted on corn versus a 19% average, 23% planted on soybeans versus a 12% average. And as we look around and as you drive around, we clearly are not 25% planted on corn and 23% planted on beans. So let's talk about whether we really are behind and some fundamentals that we can implement to help ourselves. So conventional wisdom has taught us that early planting generally performs the best or creates the best yields. And so we're kind of taught, and our experience has shown us, that early planting consists of mid to late April into the first part of May is our ideal window. However, with technologies today and seed technologies today and equipment today, we can actually achieve virtually 100% of expected for quite some time yet. Matter of fact, our friends at Purdue have a really good data set that shows you really don't start to lose yield until we get well into May. And we know we can still raise very good crops yet, and we have a pretty good window yet. So let's dive into some fundamentals where maybe all hope is not lost. The first of which starts with soil fit presides over calendar. Now, why we feel we're late, don't do anything stupid. Don't push things that you know shouldn't be pushed. There's no time for fixes anymore, so it has to count. So we don't want to create sidewall compaction as we're planting. We don't even want to create compaction. If it's a tillage pass or a vertical tillage pass, don't create compaction. Those sins can trump any kind of yield loss that we may or may not have. So plant under good conditions. And so if that means waiting an extra 12 hours or 24 hours, that could pay big dividends later. The old adage is, don't mud it in. The second fundamental is, should I adjust varieties and hybrids? This is a common question, especially when we get a perceived planting delay. First of all, we have plenty of time. I don't get too concerned in terms of adjusting relative maturities until we get to Memorial Day or after. So what that means is, stick to the plan, stick to what's in your barn, stick to what's in your seed warehouse. Do not adjust relative maturities until or if we get to Memorial Day or after. We can still support, and we still have plenty of growing season to produce full season maturities, 112s, 113s, 114s. Stick to that plan. The only thing I could maybe suggest is, if your situation is you have your own dryer and your own facility that you can handle your own crop, I would definitely not change. If you have to haul all your corn to town, I could maybe support, as we get to Memorial Day, making some hybrid adjustments to get to a shorter season hybrid to save yourself some dry down or drying expense. Other than that, I would not make a change until we get the last week of May. Secondly is soybeans, I would virtually stick with whatever you have. I would not make changes on beans whatsoever all the way into June. There are two, however, adjustments just to think about in terms of soybeans as we age down the calendar. One of those is seeding rates. I would stick to the plan today. If for some reason we're having this thought Memorial Day, you might up your populations 5 or 10%. We have to build vegetation faster. We need to canopy and close that row quicker when we get to that point in the calendar. And if you up populations 5 or 10%, you can achieve that a little bit more efficiently. And lastly on beans are, if we're late, which we're not late yet, but if we're late, narrower rows will tend to prevail. Again, you have to canopy quicker, you have to build vegetation, and a narrower row will do that faster than a wider row. But narrower rows will prevail if we get end of May into June. Fundamental number 3 could be nitrogen strategy. Now, few of our viewers pre-plant their nitrogen or pre-plant ammonia. So those in the pre-plant ammonia situation that's been on for maybe a couple weeks, we could have lost some N due to denitrification. It would be very difficult to determine today how much that loss would be. However, there are some easy adjustments you can make to sort of compensate for that. One is you can simply increase your starter fertilizer rate. Just add a few extra pounds of nitrogen or a few extra gallons just to kind of compensate for some potential loss. The other thing is you could consider a late season application. Maybe it's a Y drop application. Add some N later in the season to make up for what we may have lost here in the last few weeks. Those of you that side dress, which are predominant acres, you really have no risk in terms of nitrogen. You haven't lost a thing yet, so it's business as usual. Point number 4, equipment strategy. So obviously we're past our ideal in our minds, so how can we compensate for that? That might mean putting in longer days, maybe planting in shifts, which I realize takes an army to achieve, but getting more acres per day to make up for some lost time. So a little bit of pain today could pay off some big dividends later by getting more acres per day. That might mean you gotta plant after church on Sunday. The beauty today is most of us are equipped to farm or plant double what we really plant. Technologies have improved so much, speed of technologies have improved so much. So I would go so far to say is don't rule out even planter modifications yet today. With speed tube technology, you can move from a 4.5 mile per hour speed to a 6.5 mile per hour speed, for example, and your efficiency per hour is substantially greater. Don't discount the option. Get with your equipment dealer. You might be surprised on what can be pulled together in a short amount of time to add speed to your planter to allow you to get more acres per hour. So those are all things in your control yet today that you can make happen. Lastly is number 5, and it's weed control. Now, while it's 5 on the list, that doesn't mean it's the least important. Obviously, weeds start to come on. Weeds start to take over. Even cover crops start to get bigger and take over. So, some things to keep in mind. I like managing weeds. Don't let them manage you. So that could mean we need to make a separate trip to burn down our cover crops or to manage weed pressures we might have. You might have to break out an ATV sprayer or find connections of a lighter sprayer. Maybe that means drone applications, but pay attention to your fields, clean up your fields as needed, and that might mean a burn down pass in lieu of your residual pass, particularly in corn, to set yourself appropriately and maybe get ahead of cover crops. Now, there's viewers on this channel that plant green and they plant into green cover crops, and that's great. You know how to manage that, you can deal with it, that's fantastic. If you're not one that plants green, you may want to get that cover crop burned down first. So that might mean a Roundup 2,4-D application before your residual goes on later. If you have to go do a burn down that might include a glyphosate 2,4-D, you have to keep in mind that using 2,4-D makes you have a 5 to 7 day wait period before you go in and plant. That might limit you in itself. So there are some other options. There's some PPOs you can add, like a Sharpen, for example, or a Gramoxone, for example, that might give you immediate planting opportunity while you're burning down. Those that are watching this video right now that are clients of G&K, watch your email inboxes as we will be sending out updates on herbicides that Nathan has put together to help you decide rates, timing, product choices that might help your burn down situation. Also, in terms of weed management, we really like pH management of your water solution. Reference our earlier video that talks all about water management. Also, in terms of earlier spraying and cold conditions, it's very important to manage water pH to aid in your efficacy. Some other things to keep in mind: if you have a weedy field or a cover crop field, those are hosts or harbors for insects, particularly cutworm. It's cheap, it's not difficult. If you're doing a burn down or cleaning a field up, you can incorporate pyrethrin insecticides at a very low cost just to mitigate the risk of potential cutworm. So I want to leave you with this: hope is not lost. We actually have not really lost potential yet. So time is still on our side. Hopefully there's a few fundamentals that you can think about and incorporate into your farm as we move forward. Just remember, it doesn't rain forever and it doesn't not rain forever. We will get an opportunity. We hope that you like this video. I ask you to like and subscribe. We enjoy to be able to bring this information to you, our subscribers. And as always, please reach out to the G&K team if you need help with decision making on chemistry, relative maturities, planter setups, things like that. Our team is here to help. That's our job. We hope this is valuable information. We hope to see you in the next video, and until then, happy and safe planting.